Welcome to another rental car rally. Today is a special rental car rally because, as you can see, we have a 2016 Maserati Ghibli SQ4. And why it's special to me is the month of February, I got the opportunity to spend a whole month in Aspen, Colorado with these cars, and kind of got to use them and utilize them in the environment that they were made for. It being an SQ4, that's not good. It being an SQ4 has the intelligent all-wheel drive system, and the whole point of the Maserati bringing them to Aspen is that to showcase the system to a market that would benefit from it, show it in a snowy environment, and that's when you really get to kind of see how capable the system is, kind of like a Quattro and Audi or 4MATIC and the Mercedes. It really is a capable system, and but a little introduction on the car. It's a 3-liter V6 twin turbo, 404 horsepower. Being at the S, you get the 404 horsepower. If you have just the base Ghibli, it's 345 horsepower, which isn't too shabby, but I think the 404 is the way to go. This also has 406 pound-feet of torque. You have, with the S, you also get the 6-piston Brembo front calipers, 4-piston in the rear. And what's kind of nice with the Maseratis is one of the things I think that they kind of do better than the Germans is they let you personalize the car. So you have options on the powder coat for the brakes. These are in blue, as you can see, but there's also gray and black, and what I like the red ones. You also have, these are the 20-inch wheels. They come standard with a 19-inch wheel, so these are the optional 20s. There's also a few different selections of 20s and some 21-inch wheels. Come standard with Pirelli all-season tires, P0s. What's nice, one of the nice features of these is they have the adaptive front headlights. So as you turn, the headlights actually turn with the direction of the car that the direction's heading. And of course, with all Maseratis, the Trident logo and badge is very pronounced in the grille. If you look at the front of this car compared to the Quattroporte, one of the things you'll notice is it has the concave grille, kind of like the Gran Turismo, where the Quattroporte has a convex grille. You got your intercooler ducts down here, parking sensor standard, your signature 3 ports in the side of the fender. Those are all Maserati signatures. This is something you'll notice on the new Levante SUV. Also this Seta logo on the quarter panel. That's all Maserati signatures right there. Moving around to the back, quad exhaust tips. This car has a dual exhaust mode, so you have a loud and a very loud. And one of the greatest things about the car is the noise that it does make, and the fact that you can hear it pretty much all the time. And you get to decide whether you want to hear it a lot or just a little bit. Pretty big size trunk. I want to say it's 15.6 cubic feet. You know, fits most of your stuff. Seats, 60-40 split on the seat. Seat folds all the way flat, so you can't say it doesn't have the space. I believe it was a 21-gallon fuel tank. You know, for a performance car, it's pretty decent fuel mileage. It's not going to be like your Prius or anything like that, but pretty good fuel mileage for the kind of performance you get out of it. A lot of turbo engines now for performance cars coming out, and I think the benefit of those is that you can have a smaller displacement engine that, when you don't want the power, acts like a small engine, and then the turbos kick in when you need the power. So yeah, sunroof is standard now, which is nice. It's always good for tunnel runs, as you'll see in the video later. Let's pop the hood and we'll take a look. Another area where this car, I believe, stands out to its German rivals. Oh, they took the engine cover off of it. That would have been nice to know. yeah, that was letting me down. The engine cover actually does make it look a bit nicer under there. But in the normal ones, what you'll see, this being a rental car, I guess they decided that it's better to take the engine cover off. But they don't cover everything up like the German cars, where if you were to open a hood on like a Mercedes, there'd be all these covers. Maserati actually makes it look somewhat decent, especially if you had the engine cover on, this would be a little bit nicer, but you'll see the Maserati script on the valve covers, and they want you to see the power plant, which is something I think that's an Italian thing. Germans want you to kind of, everything wants to be neat and orderly and in its place, but the Italians seem to be a bit more, they want to brag about things, so they want you to see the engine. And, so engine-wise, this is direct injection, is variable valve timing. From what I was told, it's a Chrysler-based block, and then Maserati engineers it with the specs they want and then gives it to Ferrari. Ferrari builds the engine, so that's always I guess something you can brag your friends about, that you have a Ferrari-built engine in your Maserati if you were to decide to get one. The car, the base Ghibli starts at $70,000. The SQ4 starts at $77,000. I personally believe that that's a pretty good bargain for what you're getting. I feel like you get a lot of standard equipment, because when I built and priced BMWs, Mercedes, and even the Porsche Panamera, which the Porsche Panamera, the base starts at $78,000. And so I think with this, at $77,000 with all-wheel drive and a 404 horsepower engine, where this actually has, across the board, 100 horsepower more than its rivals, I think that when you kind of put it down on paper, this is actually a bargain. And then the fact that you can kind of personalize it the way you want it. Another thing, we'll go inside the interior here if you want to go on the passenger side, and we'll show you the interior. So one of the things about the Maserati, another point that I think you could kind of click a box as it being better than its German rivals, is the interior personalization and the colors that you can kind of mix and match. You can change stitching, and you could have the black with the red stitching or black with black stitching. I think there's also some other options when it comes to stitching, like a gray. Also seat leather. I mean, there's all these different options. You can get this with the Xenia interior, which makes all the center pieces are like a woven silk. Alcantara headliner. This one has the carbon fiber here. The ones we had in Aspen had the Radica wood, which is a real open pore wood. And just these things that kind of make it just a little bit more exclusive, and they make you feel a bit more special. And especially when you sit in this and you see how focused they want the driver interface to be. With the gauges are very easy to read. Everything's very simple. There's not a lot of buttons. It's a very driver-focused cabin, and I think that's definitely one of the places where it sticks out. So, yeah. Power, telescoping and tilt steering wheel. The seat's electric, and it also has memory. Push-button start. Dual climate control on the climate. Garmin navigation, which is pretty simple. It looks just like a regular standard Garmin GPS. It's all the thing. It's all the little things that you get, I think, with this. Real aluminum paddle shifters. Some of the German ones are they're plastic, or they're kind of try to hide them. These are right out. They stay with the steering column instead of with the steering wheel, but they're big enough to where you kind of your hands are never in a position to where you can't reach them. So that's always nice. But definitely, I think it stands out. I don't think this car gets enough praise for how good it is. Could it be a bit more of a refined drive? Yeah, I'm sure if you put it up against the Porsche Panamera, yeah, you could start to see, where the Porsche Panamera would be just a bit more balanced, to be a bit more neutral. Where this definitely has maybe a little bit more tweaks, but considering the fact that it just came out in 2013, late 2013. I mean, that's only been about 3 years, so they still got a little bit more development to go, and I'm sure they'll make the improvements as they see needed. But let's go for a drive. All right. Starter button's on the left, which is, if you're familiar with Porsches, which is they still use a key, but that's where it is. So it's pretty normal. If you want to see down here, there it is. Which is a racing thing. Oh, there's the gauges. So you can see you got your blue faced gauges, which is a Maserati color, and then you got your Trident logos in the middle, and then you got your settings for a bunch of different engine. You can also, there's a bunch of gauges in here you could select. I won't go through all that stuff, but what I like to look at is the torque distribution, so you can see how much torque percentage-wise is going to the front wheels as opposed to the rear wheels. This is a rear biased all-wheel drive, so it's always going to stay, it'll never go lower than 50% in the rear. It could go 50-50, but most of the time it will stay with the majority of the torque going to the rear. And that makes it a rear biased all-wheel drive system. You also have, here's the navigation, what it looks like. Like I said, it looks just like Garmin. You also have it so when you're in your navigation, you can do your climate control and stuff from the buttons down here, or you can actually do it through the screen right here, which is, that's always nice. Let's go back to navigation. We've got, like I said, the carbon fiber. There's also, USB and auxiliary, and then you have your little area in here where you can keep it's got a little cooler for your drinks, so you can keep them nice and cool. CD player in case you use CDs, and SD card in case you keep your music on that. And then you also get your signature Maserati clock in the center of the dash. And like I said, sunroof, and then all your lights, and you get your home link and auto dimming mirror, so all that normal luxury stuff that you're going to get on most of these other luxury vehicles. So let's of course, anytime it's a law that you have to put it in sport mode because it makes the engine louder, and then also manual. An option on this is actually the skyhook suspension. So this other blanked off button would be for the skyhook suspension. The skyhook suspension is like a continuously adjustable suspension. So it does have like a mode, you can put it in hard or soft, but then it kind of uses that as intention and adjusts the suspension on the road conditions and how it sees. It has body sensors and wheel sensors on each corner so that it can tell what the car is doing and then adjust the shock to that. And it does it with shock valving and not like magnetic ride like the Ferrari FF or all the GM and Cadillac vehicles. So yeah. ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. So it's a German transmission that's used in countless other vehicles, and it's proven technology, so it's one of the reasons why Maserati decided to use it on this one. So put it in drive and flip around here. We're going to open up the sunroof so we can hear the glorious noise of the 3-liter twin-turbo V6, 404 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque. Nice little pops and bangs on the upshifts and downshifts, to give that kind of racy feel. And good brakes. A lot of people, when I was doing the Aspen, actually this is kind of noisy, we're going to close that. When I was doing the Maserati event, there were a few people that got out of the car and they said, "Oh, those brakes are touchy." And after driving the cars, and knowing that they're not touchy, they're just very effective. So it doesn't need a lot of braking force, and that's the benefit of having that 6-piston Brembo front and 4-piston rear. Standard is 4-piston Brembo front, and then there's the floating conventional caliper in the rear. But I like the Brembos. I think if you're gonna get this car, you get the S at least. And if you feel you have a need for the all-wheel drive, you know, but definitely got to get those upgraded brakes. Very good steering. The steering, until you push the car, then the steering kind of, when you're just driving around on the freeway, it seems a bit off, a bit on center steering is a bit dead. But then when you push the car, I think, and the all-wheel drive is adjusting, that's when I really think that the steering kind of starts to work like it's supposed to. And it's still a manual steering rack, but it's servo adjusted, so it is going to make a better feel or different feel when you're pushing the car and you're driving it a bit more spirited than when you're just kind of cruising around town. And I personally don't like the cruising steering. I like more sporty steering feel when you start to push it. So maybe that's a tweak that they could make, and it's not horrible. It just doesn't feel like some of the better BMW steering, or even the Porsche Panamera. You know, that is I think in big sedans it probably has some of the better steering. Another thing and I hate to keep going back and forth on, well, it's better than his German rivals here, it's better than his German rivals here, but there's a certain thing with an Italian car that you can't measure. So with BMWs and Mercedes and Porsches, you can put everything down on paper and you can measure everything. Everything is quantifiable, and you know, you could take a measuring device and get, you know, everything down on paper, and you can see the car. With the Italian cars, there's something you can't measure that you get with them, and I don't know what exactly that is. It's more of an emotional thing. It's more of a way you feel, and when you look at most Italian cars and you drive them and you get to experience them, you understand what I mean. There's just something. I think it's a combination of everything. It's the noise. It's, you know, the way the leather feels, the way the leather smells, the way the car looks. All of that kind of sets you up for the driving experience, and the fact that Italians want you to feel like you're at a performance the whole entire time you're driving it, where the Germans are more focused on the performance of the vehicle, where the Italians are more focused on the performance of the experience. And that makes these cars the way they are and makes them special. I think that's a byproduct, is the special feel that you get from them. I don't think they're setting out to go, yes, we need to make a very special car. I think they're setting out with an idea of a experience in mind, and they just happen to make, you know, a special car from that. But very, very good car, and I think worth the money. Pull off over here. So yeah, pretty much there you have it. It's, you know, I think unfortunately the car hasn't gotten the credit that it deserves when you put it up against everything that it is up against, and I think how good it is. You know, you haven't seen it on any of the major auto review sites for videos, like or even on Top Gear. They did have the previous generation Quattroporte, but you know, that was the previous generation, and they haven't had it on since. And of course, with the whole thing that happened with the show, we might, they might not ever have it on. So, but I think the car definitely needs to be praised for what it is, and I think somewhat celebrated. So I get it, but you can't. So yeah, that's it. That's my perception of the Maserati Ghibli.